Welcome to the fall anime season. Things are going well. Too well. Things are going a little too well. So there are like 4 really good shows that I actually want to cover on a week-to-week basis. Those would be No Guns Life, Beastars, Stars Align, and Kabukicho Sherlock. But I feel like I can only do 1 or 2 of them at a time because keeping up with all of them would be kind of crazy. So we're just going to do like 1 each week or something. I don't know. We'll figure out a system. But for today, Stars Align episode 2. In episode 1, we saw that this transfer student came to school. We had this initial guy who's the only serious person in the soft tennis boys club, and the girls club is like insanely good. They've won national awards and everything. And the boys club, they kind of suck. They don't even really try, and they get made fun of. And there's a new like proposal passed where it says, if you don't do good, you're not going to get any club funding. So this guy like steers his childhood friend, and he's raised by a single mom. His dad's nowhere in the picture. And he tries to persuade his friend to join the soft tennis club so that they can actually try to make an effort and maybe get some club funding. And this ends with him agreeing to pay his friend him money to play in the club because he's like from a poor household. He doesn't really have all that much money, and he doesn't really want to take part in clubs because it costs money to do so. So he doesn't really engage with any clubs, but he's like, I'll pay you, and he's like, okay, give me the money and I'll do whatever you want. And at the very end of the episode, the dad that left them comes back, beats him up, takes the money, and leaves. And the episode ends with him just crying in a corner by himself. Now, if that isn't one of the most emotionally affecting episodes of the current or even past 2 anime seasons, I don't know what is. The only thing that can really compare to it is Sarazanmai, which is the Kunihiko Ikuhara show that we saw in like the spring season. So I'm already looking forward to the show. It's like this Kazuki Akane not masterpiece, it's like his brainchild, and he's been wanting to do this for a while. He like brought out a bunch of people that used to work with him back in the day. He's the director of Escaflowne famously, and he made this with the studio 8-bit, and it's a really good looking show mostly. Without further ado, like a 1.5-minute intro, then I say without further ado, 2.5-minute intro. Okay, without further ado, let's get started with episode 2. I said this before, but this show has like a kind of unique, like very niche market that it's aiming for. So it's a sports anime, but it's also like a relationship drama, which is like addressing the kind of like familial problems that 2 people have with their families and everything. Specifically, Katsuragi, his dad left them. He lives with his mom, and she's like a second-class architect, so she doesn't make that much money, and she works in like a not so well-known firm, so they're not doing that well financially. And then you have the main character, the blonde guy with the glasses. He's financially well off, but he's trying to do something meaningful in his life. We've seen this kind of dynamic before, and the cool part is they know each other from before, like they're acquainted from their childhood or whatever. But with the focus on the like auxiliary characters, it makes me wonder if it's going to be like one of those things where it's like the club is designed to get people more into like actually trying things. Because there's another sports anime this season that's kind of geared in a similar way, Ahiro no Sora, similar name, but that one's about basketball, and it also has like a very motivated kind of typical shonen main character who's like really into basketball, but the basketball club at his school, they don't really try. Just like this one, they're not really trying to play, they just exist because everyone has to be in a club, and they don't even let anyone else play because it looks bad on the people who don't play if you do play. So and he comes and he like kind of tries to bust that entrenched like already existing kind of hierarchy, and he wants to actually get them to do things. And if you were a kid in like the early 2000s, I think by 2010 it had already been kind of gone from schools, but back then it was a kind of like postmodern cool thing to not actually try to do anything, to kind of just try to get off work as much as possible and not really do your best or give any effort in anything. That was like seen as the like cool thing to do. So in that sense, this anime may be a little bit too late, or maybe this is really still a big prevalent problem in Japan, where people are kind of late, just floating through life without actually giving it anything their real effort. Because for 2 anime to have the same kind of premise show up in the same season, it seems to me like they're dealing with some like art reflecting life type stuff where they see something in society and that inspired them to do this. It may not be consciously, it could be subconsciously as well, because a lot of sports anime previously involved schools that used to be good and then became bad, and then the whole point of the like transfer student or new student or the freshman coming into the system was to make the school good again. This was with Kuroko no Basket is also similar, and Haikyuu is similar in the sense that they're trying to build something up back to where it was before. But with Ahiru no Sora and Stars Align, they're doing kind of the opposite. It's never been good, but now you have to make it good. And I can't help but wonder if this kind of like dissonance with the already existing hierarchy isn't some reflection of the way that we as a society think nowadays. Because if you had a Haikyuu type manga get introduced today, it would be kind of naive, or we just wouldn't relate to it as much, I think, and it would be reflected in the surveys and everything, and maybe it would go out of whatever magazine it was published in before it had a chance to become an anime. So it's kind of cool that we get to see like these jaded individuals be brought back into the fold, and that may be one of the key attractions of this particular anime, because like I said already, there's already another one dealing with basketball that's doing a similar thing, but of course this one also does more work with the family and like the background and everything, which we generally don't see in sports anime. That's like the non-existent part, with the notable exceptions of maybe Hajime no Ippo and Baby Steps, but even then they only dealt with it on a surface level, in the sense that Ippo has to get permission from his mom to go boxing, but she kind of gives it immediately because he's never been passionate about anything in his life. And A-chan from Baby Steps, he has to like convince his parents to let him do tennis because they don't want him to, because there's not really any guaranteed future in that, and that's more realistic. But Katsuragi has more hurdles to overcome than just persuading someone to let him do something, because his financial security is not going to be, I'm presuming they're not going to go pro or anything. Maybe they will. That would be an interesting thing to see as well. I'm assuming it's just going to be the usual kind of like inter-high, maybe like national level competition before they, lose and come out. But it is an original anime, so it could go wherever they wanted it to go. That's just some of the... This is episode 2, so we're still very early in this anime's runtime, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen with it. So those are just some of my thoughts about what is the specific attraction of this anime. Okay, I've talked for too long, back to the show. Yo, come on, show. Don't mess with me like this. It's only episode 2. You can't invoke my shonen spirit this early in the run, okay? Even if it's 13 episodes, you can't get me this hype just for people running around a track with this music and like they're like shoulder to shoulder running just to compete against each other, running 20 laps. Come on. And like we already established that Katsuragi was like naturally very lively and athletic, because you ran up and down like 8 floors like 45 times in the first episode, and he seemed perfectly fine and there's nothing wrong with him really. And somebody asked him like, why don't you just wait for the elevator? He's like, well, it takes too long. I could just run up and down 8 floors without even giving it a second thought. So now we get the payoff of that by having him match the captain Shinjo like 20 laps without even wheezing at all. This show I thought was going to focus more on family stuff, but it's showing that it can do the sports stuff well, even in its second episode. And we haven't really even played soft tennis. He hasn't even picked up a racket yet, and already I'm getting hype. Sports anime is my thing. There's too many sports anime this season also. And Shokugeki no Soma is basically a sports anime with cooking. And we have Ahiru no Sora, and we have Stars Align. This is I don't think I'm going to make it through the season. This is insane. Okay, calling it now. She's going to be their manager in like 3 episodes, because she seems way too against this not to get involved in it somehow. So I'm just going to assume that she's going to be the manager in 3 episodes, and that's how I'm going to work out the logic of that. So welcome, new manager of the Soft Tennis Club. Okay, I knew this was going somewhere. So Sarazanmai also had a similar theme. Are Ikuhara and like Akane on like the same wavelength here? Because, there was that scene where Enta kissed Kazuki in like episode 4 or something of Sarazanmai. And here we're on episode 2 of Stars Align, and we're already getting like this innuendo. And Maki and Shinjo held hands after they ran 20 laps. Like, there's something going on here. And I don't want to say it's yaoi bait, because I don't think it's bait. I don't think they're just suggesting it to lure in like a certain viewership. I think they're actually going to talk about the problem, because the guy on the right side of the screen actually got bullied because people think he's not like, you know, masculine enough or whatever. So I do think they're going to address the problem. So I'm not going to call it yaoi bait, but I do think it'll be interesting to get another take on this, because we've already gotten one take on this, but that was more like people in their secrets or whatever, and I don't think ultimately at the end it was fully resolved. But it'll be nice to see if we actually get like deep discussion of this in anime, because we don't generally get that. It's kind of just put off as like an offhand joke, the homosexuality thing, but we don't really see it addressed in any like actual meaningful fashion. So looking forward to that. Oh snap! Oh, they're playing me again and again and again. So usually they've already like subverted my expectations like 3 times. So usually the transfer student, nobody knows him, and he joins the club of his own volition just because he's interested in the sport, and nobody else is interested in the sport usually. And the manager is always like a girl. So far we've had those 3 things. First of all, the transfer student Katsuragi, he's already known. Like, he knows Shinjo, they know each other from before. Second, he has no interest in the sport whatsoever. He's just worried about his family and his money, which is like complete subversion. And number 3, the manager is like this guy who's interested in the captain, which usually that there's some like girl who's interested in a player, but it's usually like a girl. Like in Haikyuu, there's that one girl, but she's not really interested in anyone. She just exists. But it looks like this relationship is going to be explored. So this is like the sports anime to deconstruct sports anime. Okay, kind of weird. Also, Maki's mom is getting a restraining order, but she doesn't know that her ex-husband already knows about this place. Well, I shouldn't say ex-husband. We don't know if it's her ex-husband or her current husband. They might not have gotten divorced yet. He might not have signed it. She's getting a restraining order, but he already knows about this place, and they see him joining the club as a good thing because he can't go on school grounds, right? Ooh, that is some sketchy family drama. Okay, continuing.
ボール女子のはもうちょっと綺麗じゃんしょうがないんだ男子が使えるのは女子のフルだから
Oh, I forgot to even mention. There's even like a bigger subversion in this. I didn't even think about it until they mentioned the balls. This usually the men's sports teams is the one that gets the most attention, and the women's team gets completely ignored. But in this case, it's the complete opposite. Like, the women's team gets all the attention, they get the courts, and it kind of just like highlights the inequality, because usually we don't see that. Usually we see it from the boys' side because all the sports anime are focused on boys. We don't really see it from the girl side of where they have to not play on most days because the boys are practicing, or they don't get all the good equipment, or they get like old jerseys, or like their locker room is just a shed somewhere in a corner. But they're still able to make it shonen focused, but like just flip the script. Very creative. I see you there, show. That's actually some legitimately good animation here. I haven't really seen anything that this Studio 8-bit has done on anything else, but that was actually some actually good animation where they had him follow through. It's just like these little moments of flexing, where we did see like the kind of generic tennis animation in the show was done with CG, but if we got like really good shots like that, Baby Steps is the only other like kind of not mainstream tennis anime. Prince of Tennis obviously exists too, but that's the only one that I've watched is Baby Steps in the past like whatever, like 5 or 6 years. Prince of Tennis was like super old. And if we had this like really cool tennis action, I would love to see it. That being said, soft tennis has never been covered by anyone ever. Neither has doubles tennis really. So pretty cool to see them doing both of those things, and at the same time like also having this familial background stuff. But the very beginning episodes of our sports anime are like just getting used to the rules, and they can be a little bit dry. So we're kind of encountering that wall right now. I've never seen anybody so excited to see someone hit a ball. I feel like most people can hit a ball when you pick up a tennis racket. But, you know, this is sports anime, so we have to show that the transfer student is incredibly gifted, or they have some, like, ability that no one's ever seen before. In Haikyuu, he could, like, jump really high, which no one was expecting because he's so short. That's a recurring theme of every single shonen sports protagonist in anime is, like, really short, unathletic. Haikyuu, guy's super short, but he's athletic. Ippo is short. And not really athletic either, but he has hard work. You know, A-chan is like not athletically gifted, but he works hard. This is like a thing. We've seen it time and time again. Sports anime protagonists are kind of like all made from the same mold. Who would have seen it coming?
あんたたち1年も前からソフトテニスやっててこれ
Ooh, shots. So many shots were fired in that little section there. Ooh, boy. He's like, I could pick this up in a day, like in like 5 minutes. And you've been playing for a year and you didn't win anything and you've not tried at all. You could barely run 20 laps at the beginning of this episode. Ooh, Maki. Ooh, Maki. He's like roasting these people alive. Calling people out on their unathleticism. Ooh. This is the type of stuff I like to see. Conflict. We never get conflict. We only get like inter-team conflict. We never get intra-team conflict. We never get that juicy like, I passed you and you took the shot but you missed it, or you should have hit that. I thought you were going to hit that, which is normally what happens when you're on a team. You like doubt, because you're human. You doubt each other. The communication isn't right, or like someone gets really conceited when they miss a shot and like, oh, you should have hit that. Don't tell me what I should be doing. That's the type of stuff I like to see. This is very famously what the Avengers did way back in the 70s, and that's what made the Avengers famous in the first place, is because they fought amongst each other, and before that, heroes had only ever fought villains. It's when the heroes fight each other that things get interesting. Okay, back to the show. Even in those little practice swings there, we saw a lot of personality from the way that each of the characters did it. So like Shinjo and Maki were like the fastest ones. They were through the swing first, and the others were like slower, more methodical, like trying to learn things or like trying to do it perfectly, whereas they've already mastered it, so they're able to do it quicker. This is the kind of attention to detail that really gets me with shows like this. Okay, we're almost done with this. Let's keep going. Whoa. Okay, we're gonna do one of those dancing end sequences? Okay, let's watch this and then talk about the whole thing, because this president is like ripping it down right now. Okay. That was Stars Align episode 2, and actually a surprisingly solid episode. So sports anime, the first couple of episodes can be a little bit sketchy because usually it's about a new sport, so you don't know the rules yet, so you have to learn the rules. You're introducing all the different characters that are going to make up the different arcs. It's like, remember Haikyuu in the beginning, we had to learn every single new character, and there's way more people in a volleyball team than there are in a soft tennis club. I don't know why they specifically picked soft tennis. Usually tennis, when you pick a tennis, it's because it's usually 1v1, so it's very much about breaking down your opponent, like one-on-one, not really so much about the team dynamics. But they've picked tennis and chose to do team dynamics by focusing on a doubles type thing, where it's 2v2, so you have to get along with the partner. And specifically this show, the relationship is between Shinjo and Maki. That's like the whole point. And also about how a new entrant into the system can shake things up and kind of like break down like the entrenched habits and culture that's been there for a while. And the most effective way to do that apparently is just by calling people out and getting straight to the point and being like, hey, you're not pulling your weight. You need to be doing better if you want to keep doing this type of stuff. And then that kind of worked. They got called out sufficiently well in order to actually make a change and start practicing harder. So I'm guessing it worked, Maki. Good job. The only real thing that we got about his family this week is that his mom is going to file a restraining order against his dad. And I'm kind of happy that that's not like the sole focus of the show, because I like sports anime so much, and getting a sports anime with like a little like mustard on top that is family stuff is fun. But if it's just about the family stuff, I think for me it would get kind of stale after a couple weeks. But with this formula, I feel like we're gonna get much further than that. It is an original anime, and for some reason the animation in the show is like suspiciously good. Like there are these little moments where they just flex with these like 2D like racket swing cycles, or like that dance end sequence, which if you haven't seen, you have to go see the dance end sequence. It's pretty legendarily good. We haven't really seen a dance end sequence like that in a long time, and the animation has personality. It's consistent. It's not weirdly choppy, but not like overly motion oriented like a Sakuga moment is not, but it's very like, it carries a lot of fun. And I think that's the point of the show, is that it's about sports, but it's also about the people doing the sports, and that's the best kind of sports anime. Because if it's just about the sport, it can get boring quickly, but if you also like the people who are playing the sport, that's when you get a successful sports anime like Haikyuu, Ippo, name whatever you want, right? Baby Steps, whatever. These are like some of my favorite sports anime that you can have, and they're all very great at doing this one thing, which is endearing you to the characters and making you care somewhat about the sport. Like, I don't really care about volleyball still, but I do care about tennis and I do care about boxing now, just because of my association with these other anime and manga. So that was Stars Line episode 2. It is streaming on Funimation. Link in the description if you want to go watch it. I don't really know how Funimation does their stuff, but if you want to watch it there, go ahead and do it there because Funimation has some of the best anime this season. So I feel it's good to support that and to prevent Netflix from picking it up. So we have to wait a quarter of a year to watch something that's airing now, and we're always perpetually behind all the anime that's airing in Japan. Not to say that Netflix is bad per se, but check out my Twitter for some of the tweets I made about Netflix anime. They do all kinds of weird stuff, and I'm kind of suspicious of their business model. Okay, anyway, that was it. Stars Line episode 2. Looking forward to episode 3 next week. This is probably one of my favorite shows of the season, other than No Guns Life, Kabukicho Sherlock, Beastars, Assassin's Pride, Ahiro no Sora. There's so many good shows this season. I don't really know what I'm going to watch. I can't watch everything. All my time will be eaten up. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next episode.